This was a pretty good start of a zombie survival series.
Oh yeah, I enjoy the show a lot, especially the scenes involving the zombies. Or as the characters in this show would call them, the walkers for some reason.
I don't like it. It's terrifying.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of the show. It takes place in a world where thousands of dead people became flesh-eating monsters, and they walk around killing people, while the living people attempt to survive it.
That is most definitely a world nobody wants to live in. I mean, I know I can't say anything because I'm a robot and I can't get infected by a zombie, so yeah. Anyway, at the beginning of the first episode, we see the main character, Rick Grimes, waking up from the hospital after he almost died during a gunfight, and he realizes that the hospital got ambushed and it was abandoned, and the town that he was in was pretty much empty, except there were a bunch of dead bodies laying around. Let's not talk about that. But then, Rick was trying to find his wife and his son, but instead he meets another guy who has a son. I think the guy's name is Morgan, and his son's name is Dwayne. One thing about those characters I thought was very unfortunate was that they were only in the first episode, and we never saw them again. Like, I really want to know what happened to them after Morgan was sniping down some of the walkers, and the walkers was, heading towards the house that they were in. We never really got to know what happened to them after that.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see them again in other seasons. We'll see.
And then, at some point after that, Rick stole a horse. Not that that matters or anything. And then he went to an abandoned city, and that's where he meets other characters.
The first character he meets is Glenn, who is played by Steven Yeun, who you guys may know as Invincible. And then he meets the other characters. There's Andrea and Jacqueline, and Theodore Douglas, who goes by the codename T-Dog. And then there is Merle Dixon, who is played by Michael Rooker. And there was also Morales, but honestly, he was a forgettable character. I've heard that Merle Dixon was gonna be one of the antagonists of the show
In later seasons.
I could see why he became one, considering what happened to him in this season. Yeah, because he was handcuffed to a piece of metal on top of a building that is surrounded by walkers, and the other guys just left him there. Look, Merle was being violent. I get it. I understand why he was handcuffed. But he's still a human being. You didn't have to leave him there. Bunch of jerks.
T-Dog was the only one who at least tried to help, but he accidentally dropped the key on a drain, so he had no choice but to leave him.
After that, and after they escaped from the walkers,
the characters went back to where they originally came from, a camp.
And that camp is where we meet the other characters. Yeah, and that camp did introduce a lot of characters. I mean, we have Rick's wife, Lori, along with her son, Carl. Then we also have Rick's best friend, Shane, who's played by John Bernthal. Then there is Amy, who is Andrea's sister. Then there is Jim, there's Dale, there's Carol, along with her husband, Ed, and her daughter, Sophia. And then there's Morales' family, who were pretty forgettable. But then, eventually, in the third episode, we get introduced to my favorite character in the show, which is none other than Daryl Dixon.
If my calculations are correct, which they always are, he is the character who survives throughout the whole show, from this season all the way to the last season.
I think so too. I'm just wondering what will happen to Rick.
If I could think of any bad qualities, I'm kind of disappointed that there were only 6 episodes. I feel like they could have done more. Yeah. Kind of wish there would be an episode where they showed how this whole thing started. I mean, they did explain how it happened, kinda, but they didn't show it, unfortunately.
That is a pity. I would have loved to see how it happened.
Now, when it comes to the characters, I do like most of them, but there are some characters I either don't like, or I'm just not a fan of.
A big example of that is Ed. Carol's husband. I really hated that character. especially because he abused Carol.
Yeah, Carol, she deserved a better husband than Ed. And as for Ed, he deserved everything that he got. Getting beat up by Shane, getting bitten by a walker. He deserved all that. No hate towards the actor, though. I think he does a great job making Ed such a hated character. I wasn't really a fan of Andrea either. I thought she was pretty bland. Same with Jackie as well. And we also said earlier that Morales and his family were pretty forgettable characters. And they also left the group as well. Like, that's a good idea. Like, there are thousands of walkers walking around the world, so what good will that do? And we also, unfortunately, don't get to see much of Merle Dixon. He only appears in the second episode and the beginning of the third episode, and we don't see him again. We have to wait until later seasons to see him again.
Another character I don't like is Lori. You know, Rick's wife. I don't know why. She just makes me mad.
I mean, I get what you mean, because she was mad at Shane for leaving Rick behind in the hospital and saying that he died. First of all, the reason why he said that he died is because he thought that he died. And second of all, he had to leave him there because he was in a coma. I mean, what did she expect him to do? Just carry his body around?
I mean, he could probably do that, but that will only slow him down, which is bad, especially when you're running away from zombies.
Speaking of which, since this is technically a zombie survival show, obviously you would expect characters to die.
Yeah. Ed thankfully died. Amy also unfortunately died. Same with Jim. They all got bit by walkers. Jackie, however, she died by suicide towards the end of the final episode.
Which we'll get to right now. I am honestly not really a fan of the final episode because the majority of the episode just takes place in a CDC facility. I mean, I understand why they had to go there because they intended to look for a cure, but that just turned out to be false hope, unfortunately.
Yeah, because there was only one CDC employee left in the entire facility, because everyone else has either left or died. And just when they thought they finally found a safe place to live, it was only for them to find out that the place was about to blow, once they noticed the countdown clock. And it took them a while to notice it for some reason. And that was how Jackie died. She just stayed behind and let herself get blown up along with the CDC. Andrea was going to do the same, but Dale was able to convince her not to. And everyone else, including Dale and Andrea, they all escaped from the explosion. And they all survived the entire season. And then we will have to see what happens next in the next season.
Here's another thing. They could have put that explosion to good use. They could have lured a bunch of walkers into the building and make them all burn. That honestly doesn't sound like a bad idea. I mean, it probably wouldn't get rid of all of the walkers, but it will help.
Anyways, I think that'll be it for the review. I'm going to rate this season an 8 out of 10. And now, let's find out what show we're going to review next.
The next show we'll be reviewing is...
Fantastic Four, the animated series. I look forward to it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like. But if you like this channel, please subscribe. See you next time.